Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Hope you can hear me now. 1, 2, 3. That's one camera. Second camera. Third camera. Okay. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Okay. And start recording my stream. Hello everyone, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to work on an oil painting that I've had a picture up here for the last 30 minutes, I guess, so you could take a look at it and maybe get a rough sketch on your canvas if you're going to paint along. And if not, that's okay too. I will have a sketch available when I put the final video up on YouTube, and you'll be able to get it from my website. What I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about painting from photographs. It's very easy to go astray when you're painting from photographs, because sometimes the photographs look pleasing as a photograph, but they don't look pleasing as a painting. And so you have to do some editing sometimes of the photograph. You have to watch the colors that you use. The photographs that we take these days in digital photographs really put a lot of black in areas that are dark, and those are not what you would see in real life if you were painting from plein air, as we say. I'm going to show you this photograph in its original form. I bought this photograph from another artist who sold me like 700 of them that I could use for creating compositions and so forth. And what I want to tell you about this photograph, one is it's got a really bland sky, which is probably the way it looked the day the photograph was taken. It also doesn't have a good lead-in path to the painting. In other words, it's kind of blocked. Those rocks sort of block your view, and you don't have a nice even way to kind of walk your eye through the painting. So what I've done with that is I've used Photoshop and sort of transformed that painting slightly. I've also zoomed in on it slightly to get some of the buildings out of the way. And when I show you the next slide in my deck here, you can see that I've actually removed some of the rocks in the foreground there, blurred it out a little bit, and actually made a path for your eye to go from the foreground on the left in sort of a Z pattern through the area. You can see the water behind the rocks better and out into the far background. I've also zoomed it in so you can see the lighthouse better. The rock is bigger, and so that's what I used as the basis for my sketch. And we will use that today, and that's really what I've had showing on the screen here for probably the last 30 minutes. And so this is the grid I put over. It's a 5x4 grid. It really fits nicely on 11x14 canvas, if you like to paint on 11x14 canvas, which I sort of standardized because it fits my TV screens and it fits a lot of the tools that I have to work with here. So this will be 11x14 canvas painting. Also, I take the photograph in Photoshop, and while it's there, I actually work out sort of a value map, what I call a value map. You've probably heard me talk about this before if you've watched me paint. The darks, I tried to get into like 3 or 4 values, either white, sort of off-white, medium dark, and a real dark. So I've sort of outlined this with just using a sketch tool. Actually, I use my mouse, so it's not perfect, but at least it gives me an idea of what I want to be lightest in the painting, what I want to be darkest in the painting. And as you can see here, now you can really see the path for the eye to move from the foreground area, which will be sort of a mid-tone, back to the background of the painting, which is really what you want to get in a composition. You want to try to get a good eye movement in the painting. So that's really all I want to show you there. I want to go back and I think that's all I'm going to say here from my computer. I'm going to go back to my easel now, and I will step over there and we will continue and we will begin our painting process. And hold on just a second till I get to my easel, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so All right, here we are again. Again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. And today we're painting an oil painting. And I have it here on my easel. I have the painting sketch already done on my gray gessoed canvas, 11 by 14 canvas. You see at the top of my easel, I have the two photographs. One of the photographs that I've modified from the original, and then my value map. So these two paintings, I usually have something like this at the top of my easel to remind me of both the colors in the painting and the values that I want to try to achieve. And I usually have a gray gesso panel here, or gesso canvas that has a mid-tone gray. If you see my, it's kind of hard to see my this little bar over here on the right side. It's got from white to black value scale, and I usually use that to get a mid-tone canvas. It helps me with values, and I know something that's the value of the canvas is sort of that mid-tone value. If it's lighter, it's going to be lighter than the canvas. Darker, it's going to be darker. So let me see here if I can get it arranged like this and zoomed in properly, and we'll get going. I want to cover my paints and my brushes, which I always do, so you know at least what colors are on my palette and what brushes I'm using. So let me go around the palette here very quickly and tell you again that these are Bob Ross paints, all except one, and they're his standard set of colors. I don't modify them that much. I have a lot of oil in these paints, as you can see. They're kind of running around. At least I'm not painting vertically like some of my oil painting videos have me painting vertically. These paints with so much oil would just slide right down the glass. So I fortunately have a overhead camera now that I'm able to show you what's on my palette without it having to stand up. So we have titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. And we have one other color over here that I add from Grumbacher. It's ultramarine violet. I like that color. It just gives me a lot of chances to make shadows, and I don't have to try to mix that color all the time myself. The brushes, I have still used a few of the Bob Ross brushes. I have a number one blender here, he calls it, 1-inch blender rather. I have a fan brush that I use once in a while. I usually use the rigger. But the other set of brushes I've been using lately are these brushes from Trekell, T-R-E-K-E-L-L, and they're synthetic mongoose. They're fairly expensive, so I saved up to buy these, but I have a nice set here that has number 10 or number 16 filbert, a number 10 filbert, a number 12 flat, a number 6 filbert. I have a little knife here I may or may not use. I also have a few other Trekell brushes, smaller ones over here, number 4, 2, 0, and 0 flat, and the two types of brush, filbert and flats over here. Then I have this little thing I'm using in my hand. This is actually a watercolor brush. I use it sometimes if I want to get a really sharp edge on something. I can get it. Oil paintings are really hard to get sharp edges with these bristle brushes. So once in a while, if I want a sharp edge, I will use this watercolor brush, and it gets a very, very, very nice, soft, sharp edge. Also, I have my painting here. I have my the Bob Ross liquid white, and I also added some liquin from Winsor & Newton. So the liquid white is here. The liquin is here. The liquid white slows down the drying of your painting. The liquin speeds up the drying. So if you're trying to get something done a certain period of time and you want to speed it up, you can put some liquid in it. It will give it a faster drying time, and it will give it a little bit of a gloss. The liquid white just sort of lets paint go on easier and spreads thinner, that type of thing. So with that said, I'm going to move my brushes over here, and we'll get this painting started. And I'm going to set it up so I show you this, and I show you my palette as well. And hopefully I will not paint underneath the palette here. Every once in a while I get painting, and if I'm painting in this corner of the painting, I'll be underneath, well, I'll say I'm under the palette. So you'll hear me say that, and I can move my palette around to different corners of the painting here with a little control I have at my fingertips. And I think that's all I want to tell you. So let's get going. I'm going to pick up my my big brush here and pick up a little bit of liquid white and start with this background here. I want to just lay in some white paint, get some paint on the canvas back here, and then we'll come back and put a color over the top of it. It'll go on a lot easier if I do it that way. I like to do seascapes at least one a year or so if I can, and this will be my first one for 2017. I'm mixing a little bit of liquid white with this liquid to sort of get a little more flow with the brush, with the paint. Paint around my Lighthouse over here. Just thin it out and try to cover the canvas to get a coating on this canvas. And I actually put some, if you noticed, if you could, I don't know if you could tell, but the paint that was in the, in the sketch rather, I don't know if you could tell in the sketch that I had actually put something in the sky. The original photo had nothing. It was just a bland gray sky, and that was all there was. So I've actually added some in the sky, and I've put some clouds up there around behind this lighthouse. I'm going to pick up one of my other brushes here, a little smaller brush, see if I can get around this lighthouse a little better. I'm doing what watercolorists call negative painting here, kind of going around behind the lighthouse so I don't have, I can make it stand out. I'll come back. I'm going to put another color on this, but right now I'm just kind of putting in this liquid white to get some color on the canvas. Right, there's the lighthouse. Need room for it. Actually, that lighthouse is white, but if I put my white paint over it right now, that's one of the problems I have is using liquid white, is that when if you ever watch Bob Ross, he covers his whole painting with white, and any kind of image that he may have had or wanted to keep gets lost. So I like to try to put a sketch of some kind on my canvas so that I have that available and I don't lose my original drawing. All right, so there we go. That's good enough. And I'll come back here and throw this in and get it washed off a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to lay that aside and pick up a little of my blue, blue here, and I'm going to put a little bit of brown with it to sort of gray it down a little bit. I don't want it to be as gray as what was in the photograph, but I want it to be grayed down just a little, maybe a little of my black in there, and come back and see what we can do with the sky. Not crazy about that color. Try a little phthalo blue, see if I can blue it up just a little bit. So see that, when you put that blue on top of that liquid white, it just mixes and mingles with it and gives you some really nice edges that you can get that are blendable. And I have to be darker than that. I'm going to put a little of this violet in there. And remember Bob Ross, he always made these X strokes. He used very big brushes, and he always used these sort of X strokes. And he left some nice texture and some nice brush strokes in the painting. This is going to be quite a bit lighter or darker than the original photo. But I want it to stand out a little bit. I want it to look like it's got some some sky in it as opposed to just no sky. A little alizarin crimson. I'm just putting this on top of the brush. I'm not even adding anything to it. I'm just letting it sort of pick up the colors and let them run and blend. And so I'm getting a nice sky. I give it a little distance. This little alizarin crimson in the background helps it look like it's receding. So I'll just put that in, little X strokes here and there. I'll get my other smaller brush and come back and go around this lighthouse again. Okay, so maybe it's too dark right there. I'll come back and lay in some clouds and some shadows under the clouds and that sort of thing. Okay, I did with my other brush. I put it here in my brush cleaner, get all that white out of it so it's not quite as thick as it was. Let me put a little more of this blue in here, a little bit of this. Come back here, that's a little too dark, but we'll work with that. This lighthouse here. Okay. If you have any questions, please type them out in the chat window there. And I keep looking. I have a computer up here by my elbow, my left elbow, and I can check for your questions and maybe answer them real time here if I can. Okay, so now we have a lot of blue in there. Okay. The blue on both sides of this lighthouse should be about the same value, same shade, if we can make it that same value. Don't want it to look like we have a big difference going on behind that there. Okay, so now that's that. I'm going to pick up some white with I'm using a number 10 filbert brush here. And we're just going to put in a few clouds here and let them kind of fade into the background. Take out some of the blue out of the brush. When you put this on top of the painting, you get a lot of blue in your brush, so I use a paper towel and I take it out as much as I can. So I'm going to have a few clouds over here. Something like that. Maybe pick up a little of my black here. Midnight black is not a real black. It sort of turns to a gray. Kind of put that underneath and sort of help highlight the clouds, give it a shadow underneath. Let it blend in. Got all this nice liquid paint on the canvas. I got the liquid white and I got the little bit of liquid in there, and I've got these. All this stuff is just really flowing nicely. It's soft and blendable. Over here, let's put a little bit more over here maybe. Not too much. Just enough to show that there's something going on in that sky. I don't want it to be all blue. It's too many square inches of the paper, of the painting canvas, I should say, that is left to be blue. And if you've heard me paint before, you've also heard me talk about the 2 square inch rule, which basically says if you have an area that's 2 square inches on your painting, have something going on in there, have a color change, have a value change, have something in that space so that you can, it adds interest to the painting. It doesn't look boring. So I got all this blue canvas up here, and I don't want to bore you with a big set of blue on blue. All right, so now I'm gonna go back and get this 1-inch blender here, get some of the paint out of it, and I'm gonna just lightly brush over the top of this and see if I can blend that very nicely so that it okay, a few clouds. I'm going to come back now and touch that up, add a little more light on top just to make sure that the clouds sort of stand out here. Put some puffiness in them by just sort of swirling your brush like this. Make these nice cumulus looking clouds. Tops of this filbert brush make nice little puffy looking clouds. So I don't want to go over that again or I'll destroy that puffiness that I've got there. So I keep looking. If you notice me turning around and looking, I have a monitor back here to the right of myself that I can look and see what it looks like on camera, because sometimes it's hard to tell. I'm up so close to it here that it's hard to tell what it looks like coming through to you. And so I want to make sure that it looks good on camera as much as I can. All right. Got some nice puffy clouds. Looks like there might be a little storminess going on here. It's still dark in there. When you add the white on top of the dark, you make the dark stand out. When you put the dark underneath, you make the white stand out. So let's just keep puffing these up a little bit. So I'm doing all of this just to fill in this big blue expansive sky here. I don't want to leave it all one color. The photograph had this excuse me, had all this gray sky that was not very appealing to me. Okay, I think that's about enough of that. All right, so we got some interesting sky shapes in there, and I'm going to stop with that. All right, and I'll get this other brush cleaned out here. All right, now. Next step, next phase. I can start on this lighthouse, possibly. And it's got a lot of white in it, got a lot of black in it. I'm going to see if I can take this little flat watercolor brush. It's a 1/2-inch flat watercolor brush, and see if I can start putting in this shapes of this here. Okay, nice sharp crisp edge. It's got a darker roof on it, so I'll just do this, and it has tails off a little bit in the to the right. It's a little bit has a little shadow in it. The sun is believe it's coming from my left. So let's just shadow it down a little bit with a little of Midnight Black, and see if we can sort of blend this together here. A bit too much, a little more white in there, mix it together. I'm losing my drawing, but that's the way it goes. Okay, getting a pretty decent set of shapes there. Around this house. Okay, that is about as much. The house is white as well. Here, might as well put some of that on. There and over here. Sort of a grayish color. And the bottom of this little part of the house is white. So let's just pop all this in there. It's going to look like mud right now, but hopefully I'll be able to improve that. Okay. Not too bad. You can tell it's a white lighthouse, I think. All right. Get the white out of there. Come back and see if we can put in a little bit of the darks. Pick up my black and my lavender and get a nice dark color here. I may have to pick up my real tiny brushes. I don't know, but I'm going to put a window in right about here. And we have smaller, let me get a little smaller flat here. It's a little bitty flat, number 2, that's a filbert actually. Here's a flat, number 4 flat, we'll use that. Have a bunch of I'm just using Midnight Black here with, has a little bit of blue in it, I think, but I'm going to finish this up with my script liner after a bit. Might do it now while I'm thinking about it, because sometimes if I don't do it now, I forget about it. There's a dark roof down here. Okay, put a little bit of, there's a bit of a frame around this window. I don't know if you can even see that. That's a little bit hard to see, I think, but it's just a little bit of gray. I just add a little bit of white to my brush here. Mid-tone gray. Okay, this roof over here on the little building right here is sort of it's a little reddish color in it. I'm going to put it like this. Again, this flat brush makes it really handy there. The roofs on the other building have more red in them. I'm going to mix up just a little of this bright red and a little bit of the yellow and see if I can get an orange color. That will be more representative of these, sort of a rust color. Okay, we have just a bit of a chimney here, a little top on it. I don't know where this lighthouse is. I bought these photos from an artist who had taken them all and given me the right to paint them without violating any kind of a copyright agreement. So taking advantage of that. Got a little roof here. And we got some dark doors in here. Getting a lot of detail here, but this is where all the detail is in this painting. A couple windows there, a little window over here. There's something over here that maybe, okay. Something like that. Roof on the top that has a little peak up here like that, and there's a little bit of a roof that comes down. Okay. Could be better if I'd used a smaller brush even. Probably could have made these a little less abstract, but I can always come back with a rigger here later and sort of clean them up if I want. Add some more white in there. Matter of fact, I might do that right now with this brush. Well, let's see, do I have a smaller one yet? I have even a smaller. I have a 0. I'll come back with my 0 flat. See if I can clean this up a little bit. Put some white in there. Whatever you put on, take the towel and wipe your brush, because it definitely pulls the paint out of off your canvas onto the brush. Square up a few edges there that makes it look a little better. And go back and see if I can restate that. A window there, window there. Is that readable? Does it look? And just another okay, and I just noticed that I should have had a little bit of light on the left side of here, and had a very dark window here. All right, I think that's going to do it for that. I could spend a lot more time on that if I wanted to, but I think you get the idea, you get the gist. Sometimes I'll take these paintings and let them dry out a little bit and then come back later and put a little bit of touch up on them somewhere, some places. No blue sky that was missing there, and that's way too dark. Okay, there was a bit of something over here on this side. It's sort of like some bushes or trees or something setting out there. Nondescript. Just help close off that edge of the painting. All right, I'll stop with that part of it and start looking at this bank here on the right side. I'm going to paint this way. I'm leaving this area till last so I can leave my palette alone for you and leave it sitting there, and you won't have to worry about me painting under it until I get over there. All right. Okay, well, great. I have several people. Louisa M., sorry I cannot have time to have dinner. It's time for dinner in Spain. Well, thank you for tuning in, Laura. I know it's hard to have a global audience when I only work in the Eastern time zone of North America. But appreciate you tuning in anyway and letting me know. All right, so now we're going to look at this, some of this land and ground underneath under here. It's got some greens in it. It's got some browns. I'll leave some room for some green up there. It's got some ochre in it. See a lot of colors I see. Ochre and maybe a little of this echo, this roof color there a little bit. It's a good thing to reuse your colors. I'm just painting a bluff now that's got some all kinds of different colors in it. I'm just adding it with my brush, coming back and picking up other colors, letting it blend together so that it you can see some differences in the rock or this bluff, whatever it is. And it's just all abstract shapes. It's nothing, I'm not trying to paint specific rocks or anything like that. I'm trying to just make it look very abstract. And let's see, a little darks here. As they come down closer to the water, they start getting darker here. They sort of get lighter as they go toward the top. Okay. Some more ochres in here. There's a lot of that yellow and see, by changing the color and changing the value, I'm letting you see different layers of this piece of rock that sticks out here that this lighthouse is built on. So it gives some interesting texture to the painting. It helps, it tells you the story that this is sort of a rocky cliff. Okay, not too bad. I did have a little green on top of there. I was going to come back and put in just a little green on top of that. There is some grass up there, I guess, a little bit. According to the photograph, again, I don't have to paint the photograph, but I like to make it look as representative as possible when I'm doing a realistic painting here of something that is real. Abstract painters don't have to worry about that. Okay, so we just put a few parts of that green down in here. Let it rip. Okay. Now I'm going to want to remember that green because I'm going to want to put some of it over here somewhere in the lower left. It's behind my palette now. You can't see it. But that will help with balance and help with harmony of the painting. Okay. Again, folks, for some of you that have just joined us, if you have a question, please feel free to type it in caps or however you want to type it in. I'll see if I can check it. I check my computer over here every few minutes if I don't forget. And I'll try to answer any questions you might have. Okay, so that's enough of that. How are we doing on time? About 45 minutes. All right, so I'm going to start on some of this water here. This water has similarly a gray color, and water really has no color. It only reflects the sky above it, or the ground around it, or what's under it, or what's in it. So when you paint water, it's not always just blue necessarily, but it is reflecting what's around it or beneath it. We do have right at the bottom of this here, this area, we have some foaminess. The water splashing up, so I'm using my filbert now, the top of my filbert, and just sort of pumping in some things that look like they're some fluffiness of the water as it would be splashing up against these rocks here. The water in the photograph is really mostly all gray. Again, it was a gray day, and I think the water was reflecting the what was in the sky. But see, I put some blue in my sky, so I've got to pull some blue in here. I can't let that photograph change my color scheme here. So I've got my Prussian blue, my phthalo blues, and so I'm going to pop in some blues in here. Maybe even a little bit of that green I'll pull down just to get, because a lot of times the water has a green cast to it. I'm just going back and forth. I'm not even cleaning my brush. I'm going back and forth between the blues and the greens. I get this little turquoise color there, you see. And put a little black in there maybe and sort of help gray it down a little bit. The gray. Got rocks and all kind of stuff in here to deal with. How's that looking? Okay. Want to make sure I preserve this area above the rock over here, because this is my lead-in path. I want your eye to start over here and go like this and back and forth up there around to the clouds. So I'm playing games here to try to focus your eye, to get your eye to move the way I want it to. And most artists that have been around a while try to do that. They basically know that to make a painting entertaining, you have to have something for the viewer to look at, and they have to be able to move around the painting. If you don't give them something to look at and to take them into the painting, they'll get bored very easily and move on down and look at somebody else's painting. So trying to show you how to pull this together. Give it a bit of a straight horizontal line back there if I can. It's hard to get a horizontal line sometimes when I paint at the side like this. Usually my line ends up going one way or the other because I'm not standing right in front of the painting. If I were standing right in front, I'd be blocking your view. I don't want to do that. So I'm just using my blues here that are in my palette that are a little bit darker than the sky. That way it's going to stand out for you. I'm just sort of rubbing back and forth, left and right, trying to make something that looks like it would be water out there in the distance. I've got a bunch of rocks here I'm sort of painting around. That's why you see gaps in there. Over here I got another little bit of blue I need to put in. If I can keep it horizontal. I'm under my palette, see? Now let me move it around for you. Over there, up there, there's a better place for it. Okay, so when you see this final video, you won't see this part of me moving this palette around because I actually have 3 cameras running. All 3 are recording. And so I'll be able to edit this and put the palette wherever I want it without having to think about it. When I'm live streaming, I have to worry about what you see because I have to change the output of my streaming video so that you are not blinded by where I'm painting. All right, so I have a little bit of that was almost an accident over there. Left sort of a nice white section that looks like it's a little bit of a nice looking wave out there. Let's see what else I got in here. So I'm picking up some other colors, picking up a little white here and there, try to throw in some other combinations of dark and light help give you the distance. I got different color here. I got more green over here. That turquoise, I threw that sap green in there, and it definitely made that a lot more turquoise, which is okay. All right. I'm just picking. I haven't washed this brush out or cleaned it out. I haven't even really wiped it out for a long time. I'm just building color on top of color and letting it sort of do what it wants, take a look at it. If I don't like it, I bring another color back over it. And maybe pull a little bit of that greenish color back in here so I don't lose the harmony of that. Love these brushes. This is really nice brushes. Very easy to work with, very forgiving, cover the canvas nicely. And sort of a pleasure to paint with. Okay, so a few more streaks over here that sort of help give you some movement in the water. Let's see, I got water comes all the way down into here. You have to clean that up a little bit, but I'm going to put the rocks in over the top of this, so I've left areas. Again, my watercolor experience keeps coming back to me that I paint around things. You don't really have to do that in oils or acrylics because you can always paint over stuff, but I tend to like to see where I'm going and what I'm leaving here. I want to gray that down just a little bit maybe. So the question of the day, if you know your color palette, if I got too much blue on my painting, if this is way too blue, how do I gray it down? And this works for any color. If you know the color wheel, you find a color on the opposite side of the color wheel from the color you want to gray down, in this case blue, and you add its complement, the color that's exactly across the color wheel from the color you're trying to gray down, which in this case would be sort of an orange. So if I were to mix some orange in here with this blue, it would start graying down and become much duller and not quite as bright. So I'm going to pick up my my bright red over here with a little bit of yellow in it to get myself an orange. And I'm going to just show you what I'm talking about here. It should work. Theoretically it should work. So I've got this orange color here. I'm going to put into this blue. Very lightly I'm going to just try it and see what it looks like here. It's not really turning gray, but if I put the blue back together with it, blue and this orange color should give me more of a gray color. It's actually got more green in it than I wanted, but I put that yellow in there, I don't really have an orange on my palette, so I have to kind of play games with it here to get it. But it didn't work exactly like I thought it would, but nevertheless, that's the theory. If you have a good orange across from a good blue, you can gray it down by mixing it with the blue. If you put pure red and pure green together, you'll get a gray. Okay, so let's come back and lighten this up a little bit. Put a little foamy froth in there. I can come back and put some more. I have a lot of foam and that type of stuff to put in here. A lot of rocks to put in. It's going to have a lot of foam in this area, so I'm just going to put a little undercoating here. Come back and cover it with white and put in some rocks. Let's see, there's some water in this area here. Okay, so all that area there has got some, I've got another rocky surface here that's going to be a complement of that. And let's see here. Maybe, how about if I get my small brush here? My little flat, number 4 flat. Let's go back and see if we can pop in some dark rocks back here. Start from the back and work our way forward. So I've got some midnight black, a little bit of Van Dyke brown, some titanium white. Trying to get a grayish color for these rocks in the background here. There's one that sort of sits right in here like this. Some more paint. A couple of rocks out there. It could be a little darker maybe, so you can see them. I don't want them real dark because if I make them real dark, they'll come forward. I want the darkest rocks in the foreground. So I've got this other rock that sort of sticks out here like this. Kind of a little bit foggy, a little bit misty out there. Another rock. And these rocks, if they have any shadow, it'd be dark. They should be dark on the right side or on the bottom. The left side should be lighter. Let's see, another rock right in here that sort of... There's quite a lot of rocks out there, actually. I don't want to paint every one of them. That's not a good compositional theory, but I do want you to see a few of them. See the bottoms, and then I'll come back and foam that up a little bit with some other whites. And because right now that rock looks like it's glued on, and I have to connect it to the bottom, so I'm going to do that with some white here in a little bit. I'm going to move down into this area and start putting in some color that's a little bit too bright, but I want it to be similar to what's over there, which I'm thinking now is also too bright. So just a lot of rocky, craggy stuff here that's sitting out. Lighter colors go on top. We do have a little sun shining over there from the left. So let's show a little bit of sun coming here, the same sun that's hitting over there. This is really too light over there when I compare it back to the photograph. This is in shadow here, so let's paint it that way. Darks, dark browns. This is in shadow from this big rock right here. So I want to make it look like that. Hey Mark, see you signed in. Thanks for showing up. Good to see you again. Okay. So just a series of different colors here that are darker and lighter. You have areas that sort of stick up that are brighter, and have areas that are hidden that are darker. So I'm going to pop in some ochres, coming back between ochre and my browns, and sort of trying to let you see the different values here. It's actually bringing a little bit of this green from over there. Some areas out here. This area here I sort of made up because when I photoshopped the photo, I took out a whole bunch of stuff that was here, and I just left it sort of blurry. But it gave me a nice way to sort of give your eye movement through this area here. So I'm using this little bitty brush. Probably should be using a bigger brush, but I'm kind of like the way this thing feels in my hand right now, so I'm going to just keep plugging with it. Get some darker values at the bottom of this, because as these things go into the water, they really get much darker. So I have some other rocks that are closer and a little bit of grassiness that's here. I don't know if you can see it that well or not, but okay. So let's just sort of leave it like that and see how that looks. And I can come back and put in some more foam and that sort of stuff here. I'm going to put another little rock right in here, like that. I've got some more rocks below here. Becoming a rock painting here. Many rocks are angular and they're squared off. But the more rocks get beaten down by the waves, the more rounded sometimes they get. So making this rock just a little bit darker because it is a little bit closer in. Lighten up some of the highlight side, get a little half tone here or something. Abstract shapes. I'm not trying to paint a specific rock, I'm just trying to paint in abstract shapes. Okay, folks, we're doing pretty good. We've been going an hour and we've got this thing very close to being finished. I'm going to spend some more time with making the sea foam look better. And put a bunch of grasses and that sort of stuff down here in the foreground. And I have a bunch of little rocks just sort of sticking around over here that just sort of stick up and probably broken off from whatever's out there. A rock here that sort of put them in. So you could paint rocks for a day and a half here if you wanted to do that. See, I'm going to stop. I haven't stopped to even check this thing for composition. Step back, and I like the movement in the sky. I like looks like we got sun hitting on that right bank. Maybe I'll leave that alone. I thought it was, when I'm up close to it, it looks like it's too bright, but maybe not. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to show just a little more sun here and sort of brighten this up. If I can find a way to do that. Get me some yellow, Indian yellow or yellow ochre, some white. Get a nice white, brighter color here and sort of put in some things that look like the sun might be hitting over here. I haven't used any of my bright yellow. I don't think this is a bright yellow painting day here. So I can have an area of this over here that's getting a little bit of bright sun. It's past this rock and the sun might be hitting on the tops and over here. So let's try that and see if that looks a little better. Maybe that helps balance the brightness over there. Okay, I got this big rock here on the left. Well, it may deserve a bigger brush, so I'm going to pick up my number 10 filbert. Pick up some browns, put a little ochre in it. The right side's going to be darker than the left side, so I'm going to come up here and sort of hit this. That's considerably darker than the painting, but it's okay. almost getting under my my palette again right there. Bright. A bit too bright maybe, so let's throw in a few more spots of dark in here. I could use a palette knife for this if I wanted, but I'm liking my brushes today so well, I just don't even want to mess with a palette knife right now. Make this darker here by the side so it shows that it's definitely different than what's beside it. So I'm putting my midnight black on that, and I'll put that midnight black all across here. Make it tie in. Pick up a few more of these colors. I'm just sort of mixing them on the brush. Like this. As they get lower down, they get more darkness in them. Now the filbert is giving me these rounded tops, which is good for clouds and good for making sea foam, but not necessarily good for making rocks. These rocks need to be angular. So, how can I fix that? I can get my flat brush. I can find one that's the right size. I got number 12 flat here. Probably a little too big, but let's go back and just see if we can touch in a few brush strokes that sort of make these look more vertical and less rounded. Now with a palette knife I could do that, but I can also do it with these flat brushes. Okay, that's probably pretty close. Make it a little more red in it maybe. It is beaten down. These things are a little rounded in some areas, so I don't want to take all the roundedness out, but I do want to have some angular shapes like this. And I don't want them to be squares. I don't want them to be rectangles. I want them to have an abstract shape. So this thing here looks a little bit too square to me, so I'm going to stick another little appendage on him like that. Start forgetting the photograph and you start thinking about composition and things like that. Okay, so there. I think that's going to do my rocks pretty well. To clean some of these brushes out. And clean my flats out anyway. My filberts, I'm going to get those out. I'm going to start now coming back with the foam and making some nice tops on the waves and making them merge the bottom of the rocks, and we'll see how that works. The distance out there, I'm going to have to get some white, a little bit off-white, put just a touch of dark in there, black, but I want them to be probably a value 3 or 4 on the value scale there. And out here, where we've got a lot of turbulence going on, I'm just going to put in some of this stuff to make it look like we got some waves crashing. Some fogginess happening. Here we've got some waves crashing into this area. They're just sort of popping up. Okay, so I'm getting some of that look of foam and frothiness out there that I want to show. I want some back behind here. Okay, so you can actually have that look like it's kind of coming over the rocks here, spilling over. Keep a little frothiness on top, like that. Okay, so that's, don't want to do too much of that, but I want it to give that that feel of the foam being generated and coming in here. This is, whoops, got that brush in the wrong paint. Through here. It's kind of calm out in here. I'm just sort of going to go over this again and make it sort of blend in with what's going on over there. A little foaminess coming back and forth in here. And we're starting to hit these rocks now over here. So let's get some more fresh paint. Wipe your brush out. Turning the brush over. Just a little bit of foaminess on the tops. If I can get the right amount of foaminess here, I can give you some more of that where the water runs down the rock. Something like that, maybe, I don't know. Just want to tie these rocks in so they're not just lying out there in the middle of the water, unconnected. When I get this amount of white paint on this brush, I can actually have an area where it's flat, and then if I push down just right, it will leave these little wave-like things. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I have some paint on there that's pretty high up on the brush. And when I do this and then kind of push down, I start picking up this little, looks like a little wave going on there. And then I just sort of blend the back of it into what's going on behind it and tie in to the rocks beneath it. So you see like I have, looks like little curls there. And all I did was just touch the brush where the paint was very high on the bristle, and it left that impression, which is a lot of what we do in painting, make impressions. It leaves, I've got a lot of paint on there, you can see it maybe here, how it, when I push down on it, it's going to leave that sort of a wave. So, just trying to make it look all frothy, and there's a lot of movement in there. And where that came from is at the bottom of this brush here, the very back of the brush, by just kind of pushing it down and pulling it forward and then not going over it again. The mistake most people make is they will go back and go over that thing 2 or 3 times and basically mess it up. You'll lose it. Yeah. Okay, so don't want to do too much of that. Again, it's too much of a good thing will sort of ruin it for you. All right, that's looking nice and foamy. And I think I want to put a little more over here on this area here where we're getting some, starting to sort of calm down over here. Put a little blue in there. Back, get some more white, clean the brush out, get some more white. Okay, all of this down here is going to be, I'll put some underpainting behind it just to give myself something to paint over. This is going to be weeds and bushes, and mostly weeds and grasses, I think, down here. All right, stop and step back and look at that. Okay, I see something called a clone here. This is a little rectangular shape and another rectangular shape right next to it, and a third rectangular shape. Clones are a no-no. Don't let them happen. Turn it into some sort of an abstract shape. I'm going to get my flat brush here and see if I can fix that. So I don't have got rid of part of that one. This other one, I was trying too hard to make them square them off, and I ended up making myself clones. Different width, different heights, something. Change it up so that it's not the same look. Still look almost like clones to me. I can't not make it not a clone. Here, okay, now. Sometimes when you get too many things, too many rocks, or you get too many shapes like that that start looking like they're duplicating, a good thing is to just join them together. I'm not doing that right now, but I am sort of darkening this thing down so that it looks like that thing that I thought was a clone is really part of this area over here to the right, and do that. I think that's a little bit better, but I still see identical. So let's just do this. See, I'm not even looking at the photograph. I'm just looking at this shape. I'm looking at what's there to see if it's a good, meaningful shape that is abstract and doesn't duplicate or clone what's beside it. So that's should be a more pleasing object than what I had before. Should be. All right, let's get into this. I'm going to take our whites and some of our ochres, and we're going to start putting in this base here for the weeds down here. A little white in there, a little ochre in there. This is sort of a ground cover, I guess. It sort of fades out over here to the left. want two sides to be alike. I want one side to be darker than the other side, or something like that. I'm going to just sort of put a little color on the canvas here so that I don't just have gray canvas showing through. Now, let's see here. How about my script liner? I haven't used my script liner yet today. Pick me up some thinner, or I'm actually using, instead of thinner, I'm using my Liquid, which is a very thinning type of. So I want to just put in things like this. I'm going to go over and get some ochres, mix it up, get a combination of colors in there. As long as it's really light and thin, it will go on over this paint very easily. Need some more liquid in here. And you see these look like, over here on the left, they look like, I don't know if you can see that well, but they look like they're sort of glued on. I'm going to have to come back and put something below that again. But these things are just sort of weeds, dried out weeds, and all kind of stuff here that's sitting in the grasses that's in the foreground. Even has a little bit of green in it. I think I told you I wanted to put some green over here, didn't I? I promptly forgot it. Put some green to sort of echo that green that's over there. Don't have to have a lot of it, but I want it to add some harmony. These things are just all crisscrossing each other every which way. Over here, just keep going up with these. And a few ochre-like colors. So I think some of these had some little tips on the ends of them, like things will be growing near the ocean. All right, now, how do I finish off the bottom of that? I'm probably going to get my fan brush out and just sort of flick in a few things from the bottom that will help cover up the base of these other things here. Fan brush is great for this kind of thing. See how that covers up and sort of blends that stuff in. Something like that is all you have to do. Pick a few other colors here, maybe. Throw in a few lights. Okay. Yellows, ochres, whatever it takes. So I did a lot of that with this script liner, but I also came back and then added more with the fan brush, which, okay, so you don't need a lot of that stuff, but it's kind of representative of what's really out here on the coast like this, where you see these kind of things sticking up and they have their little dabs of stuff on them. Stop, get back and look at that. Okay, I still feel that right side's a little bit too light. But I don't want to spend a lot of time fixing it, but I think I can come back over here. This area where I'm talking about is this area in here that's almost under the all right, let's see if I can sort of darken that down just a little bit. You may like it that way. If you do, leave it that light. But I sort of decided that I think it needs to be just a little bit darker. It's kind of drawn when I look at stuff. The eye is going to go up here probably for the most part, but I kind of want you to look this way and come that way and back around. So it's all about sort of directing the eye. Leave some light parts in there that might be hit, but I think that's a little more pleasing to me. There's over here, similar. Okay, I think I see an area I could put a little more foam in there. On the left side here by this rock, sort of left alone. He's kind of sitting out there by himself. Okay, just a few little streaks. All right. I'm thinking let me stop with that and get my rigger out here and get ready to put my name on it. Clean this thing out. What color am I going to put that in? Let's some sort of a color that blends. A lot of big globs of stuff on there. So I'm going to put it in a sort of lighter color here. Let's see if this will work. It was too light, but combination of brown and white. Okay. Let me see. I think that's going to do it. I'm going to take one more look. I should have maybe put a few more calligraphy marks around the top of this lighthouse up here. I don't know. Probably going to get my hand in it if I'm not careful. I don't want to mess around with it too much. Some sort of a step there. All right, I think I'm going to stop. I'll keep doing too much. All right. I'm going to back up here and say thank you again for watching, and thanks for tuning in. And remember, I try to have a live oil painting class the third Wednesday of every month, and from 1 o'clock to about 3 or 3:30. This went a little faster than I thought, so I don't want to string it out, but I want to show you how you can paint a nice little oil painting seascape, 11 by 14, in about an hour and a half. And so please check out my website, check out my Facebook page, and the sketch will be out there by the time I load this up to Facebook, or load this up to YouTube rather. And I hope you give it a try and let me know how you do. And so until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Bye.